The Ewing and the Restless spoilers shock. It was a radiant spring evening in Genoa City when the Newman Estate's grand ballroom was transformed into a glittering spectacle of white roses, crystal chandeliers, and cascading silk drapery. For Nikki Newman, this night was meant to be pure celebration, another year of survival, another triumphant lap around the sun buoyed by the love of her husband, Victor, and the warmth of friends and family. In the months leading up to the event, Victor had spared no expense, personally overseeing every detail from the arrival of an exclusive string quartet flown in from Vienna to the bespoke chocolate sculptures modeled after iconic Newman Enterprises logos. Nikki had insisted on one modest concession: that they hire 100 extra security guards, each hand-picked by Victor's private detail, dressed in unobtrusive black suits but equipped with the latest in crowd screening technology and a discreet but impenetrable cordon around the perimeter. She wanted to enjoy the party without fear, to laugh and dance under the soft glow of lanterns, to toast champagne flutes high above her head without worrying about a single shadow lurking at the edges of the lawn. Little did she know that the real threat was not at the gates but inside, concealed by smiles and masquerades, and that the one person fate would claim most horribly that night was the one individual Hillary herself had least expected to lose. From the moment the first guests arrived, Claire and Devon in their tailored tuxedos, the Abbott clan in pastel silks, and even Audra, whose presence had provoked whispered speculation until Victor himself personally vouched for her. Tension and excitement mingled in the cool air. The three-tier white cake had been wheeled in under a canopy of fairy lights, trays of hors d'oeuvres trailed by servers bearing flutes of Dom Perignon, and the ballroom's wide glass doors stood wide open to reveal long tables draped in emerald velvet, set beneath an arbor of paper lanterns drifting in the evening breeze. Everywhere Nikki looked, familiar faces smiled and offered congratulations. Johnny Abbott raised his glass in a silent salute, and Katie clapped her hands in delight, her laughter tinkling like wind chimes. Yet in Victor's eyes, hidden behind the practiced calm of a man used to controlling every variable, a flicker of doubt remained. Just hours before, Artemis Dumas's Victor's sly rival in publishing and espionage, had sent an unsigned note hinting that this celebration will end in blood, words so bold they should have been dismissed as crude taunts. But the memory of Amanda Sinclair's terror at Dumas's threats, the knowledge that he wielded fear as deftly as a surgeon wields a scalpel, made Victor wonder if he had underestimated the lengths to which Aristotle would go to humiliate him. As the string quartet broke into a waltz and Nikki and Victor took to the dance floor, the world seemed to hold its breath. Their first steps were light, careful, as if each footfall could shatter the enchanted tableau around them. Guests looked on in awe. The world's most powerful couple moving in effortless sync, beating back the complications of corporate warfare with a turn of a wrist and the lift of a hem. Champagne crystals caught the light like stars bursting in a midnight sky, and for a perfect moment, Nikki believed her husband was right, that no enemy, however cunning, could penetrate this fortress of love and opulence. But lurking in the crowd was Lily Winters, summoned by Amanda's clandestine messages to stand sentinel on Ella Sinclair's behalf. Lily moved seamlessly through the throng, a discreet earpiece hidden beneath her hair, every sense attuned to the slightest anomaly, an unfamiliar face lingering too long at the buffet table, a shadow slipping across the side windows, a server whose hand trembled as he lifted a tray. Lily's courageous heart propelled her forward, convinced that her duty to protect the Newman family must transcend even her own safety. She passed by Claire, offering a reassuring nod, then stayed just inside the ballroom's threshold, where the soft carpets muffled the footsteps of any would-be infiltrator. It was at the second toast, when Nikki raised her flute and began to speak of gratitude and joy, that Aristotle Dumas made his move. Cloaked in the guise of one of the hired pianists, his face half hidden beneath a fedora, he positioned himself near the orchestra pit and observed the room with cold, calculating eyes. Victor, standing by Nikki's side, did not notice the subtle shift in the music's key or the way the pianist's accent skated across certain notes with ominous precision. Not until the final chord of Nikki's speech had faded did the lights wink off, plunging the ballroom into an expectant hush punctuated only by the tremor of nervous laughter. A single spotlight snapped on to illuminate the center of the dance floor, where Lily Winters stood, her hand raised to signal something, but before she could warn the guests, a deafening crack split the air. A single bullet tore through the spotlight's glare and struck Lily in the chest. Time seemed to slow as her body sagged, her arms flailing in a desperate gesture toward Nikki. The world exploded into chaos, screams, the crash of gilded chairs, the thud of Lily's body hitting the polished oak, and the frantic scramble of tuxedoed security guards converging on the orchestra pit. Victor's roar of fury was the last coherent sound before the ballroom descended into pandemonium. In the seconds that followed, every meticulously planned safeguard proved woefully inadequate. Guests stampeded for the exits, pearls flying, gowns snagging on corners of furniture. Nikki knelt beside Lily's shattered form, her heart pounding like a war drum, while Victor stormed toward the pianist's booth, only to find it empty, save for the overturned stool and a single playing card left mockingly atop the keyboard, the ace of spades. Victor lifted the card with trembling fingers, rage burning in his eyes. Somewhere in the dark corners of the estate, Aristotle Dumas slipped away, his plan accomplished. He had turned Nikki's night of triumph into an unforgettable horror, claimed the life of the one woman who had wielded loyalty and courage as deftly as any blade, and struck at the heart of the Newman Empire itself. Security cameras captured blurry images of masked figures fleeing into black SUVs, while paramedics fought to keep Lily alive, but the damage was done. Lily Winters, beloved friend and guardian, lay still, and the ballroom's gilded walls seemed to close in like the ribs of a tomb. In the aftermath, as dawn broke over the estate, the Newman family and their guests awoke to a nightmare. Headlines screamed of a massacre disguised as a birthday party, social media feeds glowed with grainy videos of panicked guests, detectives sealed off the property in search of clues. Victor, standing over Lily's lifeless form in the hospital's sterile corridors, found that even his vast resources and unbreakable will could not shield him from the weight of grief and guilt. Nikki, pale and broken, vowed vengeance with words that echoed against the whitewashed walls. "I will find him. I will make him suffer as Lily did." And somewhere, in a hidden room far from the Revelry's ruin, Amanda Sinclair watched the chaos she had long feared, tears dampening her sleeves, and realized that the cost of secrecy and betrayal was more devastating than any corporate defeat. Aristotle Dumas had not only undone a night of joy, he had uncovered the one vulnerability no amount of security could prevent. The love that binds a family, the loyalty that spawns sacrifice, and the courage that, once extinguished, leaves a shadow too vast to fill. And so, as the sun rose on a world forever altered, the stage was set for a conflict more personal and merciless than any boardroom war, fueled by rage, sorrow, and the unbreakable promise of retribution. Victor paced the length of his private study, fists clenched so tightly that the knuckles of his enormous hands went white. The firelight danced across the walls lined with mahogany shelves, tomes on corporate takeovers, biographies of ruthless tycoons, and a single, framed photograph of Lily Winters smiling in summer sunlight. That smile, now forever frozen in memory, drove a spark of ice-cold rage through his veins. Aristotle Dumas had struck at the heart of his family, had shattered Nikki's joy, had killed Lily in cold blood. And even now, the enemy hovered like a shadow at the edge of every celebration, every boardroom meeting, every family gathering. When would Dumas appear next? Where would he strike? How could Victor find him before another life was lost? The question echoed in the vast corridors of Newman Enterprises. This was not merely another rival to outmaneuver, another consultant to buy out, another lawsuit to unleash, but the most formidable adversary Victor had ever faced. Unlike corporate competitors who could be pressured, outbid, or sued into submission, Dumas had demonstrated a merciless talent for violence and subterfuge. He moved unseen through the city's underbelly, infiltrated the highest circles under the guise of respectability, and weaponized fear itself. Victor slammed his palm against the polished desk, rattling the papers documenting the latest security upgrades and bulletproof glass installations. "He's one step ahead," Victor growled into the silence. "Always one step ahead." At that moment, the door to the study opened, and Nikki entered, her face drawn but resolute. She approached her husband and placed a gentle hand on his arm. "I talked to Chance," she said, referring to Detective Chance Chancellor, longtime ally of the Newman family. "He's assembled a special task force. They'll deploy plainclothes officers anywhere we need them. Be it our properties, the hospital, even the opera house, if that's where Dumas chooses to surface." She recounted Chance's words, rapid response units ready at a moment's notice, undercover sleuths planted among any staff or guests, GPS trackers on all known Dumas front companies, surveillance drones quietly circling key Newman locations after dusk. Nikki's eyes gleamed with the fierce pride of someone who would stop at nothing to defend her family. "He said we can name the time, name the place, and once Dumas steps into the trap, they'll have him in cuffs before he draws his gun." Victor exhaled, tension easing from his broad shoulders for the first time in days. He studied Nikki's determined expression, felt the familiar warmth of partnership. "If Chance can coordinate that level of coverage, we can turn the tables," he said. His mind raced through every possible scenario. A gala at the Newman Arts Pavilion, where Dumas might slip in disguised as a caterer, a shareholders' meeting at the Genoa City Country Club, where he could mingle among guests, even a quiet dinner for two at the estate, where the trap could be sprung under the guise of a romantic celebration. Victor envisioned an array of contingencies, bulletproof barriers discreetly hidden behind decorative columns, concealed entryways blocked by armored vehicles, riot shields and tactical units poised on call. And, most importantly, the element of surprise. "But we cannot predict exactly where he'll strike next," Nikki cautioned. "He's proven he can bypass the best defenses. That's why we need more than just firepower, we need a lure." She paused, her mind working through the possibilities. Aristotle craves one thing above all: information. He wants inside access to our new publishing venture, to the secret merger plans, to any weakness he can exploit. He's desperate for a final, crippling blow against Newman Enterprises. If we feed him a carefully crafted rumor, something only Dumas would find irresistible, he'll bite, and we'll be ready. Victor's eyes narrowed. He loved it when Nikki thought like this, transforming every threat into an opportunity, every vulnerability into a weapon. "What do you propose?" Nikki turned, moving to the massive window that overlooked the city skyline. "We leak a forged memo suggesting that the merger agreement with Chancellor Industries hinges on an overnight meeting at our Redwood Point estate. We'll send it through channels that Dumas monitors, dummy email accounts, private messaging apps he uses, perhaps even a falsified courier delivery. He'll see this as his moment to strike, a chance to steal the mega merger documents, humiliate us, and walk away with the ultimate corporate trophy." Victor stepped beside her, his gaze locked on the horizon. "And when he arrives?" "We'll have Chance's teams embedded throughout the property," Nikki continued. "Detectives disguised as gardeners, security officers posing as lighting technicians, undercover agents blending in as caterers. When Aristotle crosses the estate's threshold, any threshold, we give the signal. Then we trap him in the solarium, the one room with no hidden exits, just the heavy French doors that can be sealed instantly. He won't know what hit him." A plan so elegant it felt like poetry. The Newmans and their allies would orchestrate the perfect bait-and-switch, public facade of vulnerability masking a fortress of readiness. Victor placed his hand over Nikki's, drawing strength from her unwavering confidence. "All right," he said, voice low and commanding. "Let's make this trap real." Over the next 48 hours, the Newman security apparatus swung into motion. IT specialists crafted the counterfeit memo, replicating corporate letterheads, digital signatures, and even archival metadata to fool Dumas's forensic eye. Private investigators seeded whispers in the right social circles, ensuring that the leak reached Aristotle's inner circle of informants. Meanwhile, Nikki and Victor held clandestine briefings with Chance Chancellor. Late-night sessions in a secure conference room at police headquarters, illuminated by a single desk lamp and the glow of surveillance monitors. Chance assigned his best operatives, detectives who had helped bring down arms traffickers and cyber criminals, now reconfigured as guardians of the Newman legacy. On the eve of the operation, Victor hosted a low-key mixer at Redwood Point for a selected list of board members. Enough to lend plausibility to the rumor, yet intimate enough to maintain secrecy. Claire, Devon, and Audra were in on the plan. They played their roles flawlessly, discussing merger clauses and suggesting a midnight sign-off to appease Chancellor Industries' lawyers. Cameras discreetly recorded every guest and every moment, transmitting live feeds to Chance's mobile command center housed in an inconspicuous white van hidden among the surrounding oaks. As midnight approached, the estate fell into a cloak of anticipation. Guards in nondescript uniforms took their silent positions behind hedges, armed only with discreet earpieces. Inside the solarium, built entirely of reinforced glass and steel, tactical units readied themselves, weapons low but eyes sharp. Victor and Nikki watched from the second-floor balcony, blending in with the shadows as the false briefing concluded inside the solarium. A hush replaced the murmur of conversation. Moments later, the telltale black sedan arrived. Aristotle Dumas emerged, dressed in his signature tailored coat, his expression a mix of triumph and arrogance. He flicked open the memo, squinted at the time and place, and smiled, assuming victory was within his grasp. With a confident stride, he crossed the manicured lawn, past the disguised officers, and reached the solarium doors. His hand hovered over the handle. That was the signal. A single, booming announcement crackled through hidden speakers. Police. You are under arrest, Aristotle Dumas. Steel doors slammed into place, sealing the solarium. Spotlights snapped on, blinding him, then half a dozen detectives and Newman security surged forward. Dumas drew a pistol, but his weapon was no match for the trained sharpshooters who disarmed him with surgical precision, all without a single civilian casualty. As officers cuffed the stunned mastermind, Victor descended to the solarium floor beside Nikki. They stood united, two powerful figures whose cunning and resolve had outmatched even the darkest of foes. Nikki breathed a shaky sigh of relief as Lily's photograph in Victor's pocket, placed there for luck, felt impossibly warm against her side. Chance bounded in, clapping Victor on the shoulder. Nicely done, he said. You got him. Aristotle Dumas glared up at them with venomous eyes, his empire collapsing around him. As he was led away into the night, the cold clank of cell doors echoed through the greenhouse. Victor watched until the last shadow passed beyond the locked doors, then turned to Nikki, triumph and exhaustion warring in his gaze. No more shadows, he whispered. No more hiding. Nikki placed her hand in his, hope blossoming like the orchids around them. Tonight, we proved his luck ran out, she replied softly. The trap had closed, the enemy captured, and at long last the Newman family could breathe free of fear. But as they embraced in the heart of the solarium, both knew that in their world, vigilance was eternal, and that even the most masterful plan must be renewed with every sunrise.